I mean, one alternative to the present awful way of dealing with people who come looking for protection, an alternative, I think, is, okay, first of all, shut down offshore processing. It's just a spectacular cruelty and a waste of money. Accept that people will arrive. Accept that maybe you detain them initially for preliminary health and security checks, but limit the detention to 1 month. And at the end of 1 month, release them into the community on a visa which allows them to work, allows them full access to Centrelink and Medicare, but requires them, until their refugee status is decided, to live in a specified rural town or city. Now, if we did that, and if the record arrival rate became the new normal, and if every single one of them remained on full Centrelink benefits, the cost to the federal economy would be $500 million a year, which is just 10% of what we spend now being cruel to them. And of course that $500 million would all be spent in the economies of rural towns and cities. And you know, it's hard to go to a rural town that doesn't have empty houses, empty shops. They need some people. And having people come in, especially if they are either working and spending money or getting Centrelink and spending money, it's going to be great for country areas. And country people, I think, are practical enough and decent enough to think, yeah, we can go along with that and make it work.
Well, Julian Burnside had spoken, and I think we were all overwhelmed with just the community's response. So many people had come, and it confirmed commitment to Australians doing a better job of welcoming people who are distressed and needing asylum.
He came and spoke. We found out about it. I read about it in the local paper that he was just going to be talking about refugees. And so my husband and I went along and listened to what he had to say. And it certainly opened my eyes, because I had a certain amount of understanding about what it meant to be a refugee in this country, but really didn't have an in-depth understanding, whereas Julian Burnside gave all of there were nearly 200 people there, which is pretty spectacular for a small country town like Ararat. And so after he had spoken, there'd been some talk from other rural Australian for refugee groups, and they spoke about setting up local RAR groups, and I thought, gee, I'd like to be involved in that. So the first meeting was called. Bonnie Carter, of course, was very instrumental in setting that up, and we went along to that first group, and it's just rolled on from there. So that was over 2 years ago.
I think psychologically it's really good to know that you're not the only one that feels that way. Living in a fairly conservative country town, you begin to feel that nobody else has any sympathy with people who are stuck in limbo. And even if it's just meeting once every 2 months, it sort of focuses you on the fact that there are good people out there and that you're not by yourself. The other thing is that there's strength in numbers. You can't do something by yourself, really. It's much stronger to be part of an organisation. And you meet nice people.
Well, we have different interest groups. So people can choose to be as involved as they want to, or just come to the meetings. They can do different things. We had a group that went around that was involved in becoming a refugee welcome zone, that was about political action, that kind of scope. We had a group who were visiting detention centres, a group who were writing letters. So whatever level people felt comfortable with. Some people just bake a cake and send it along to the cake stall. So whatever people's level. We've also had the Home Among the Gum Trees program, and families who are refugees come up and stay with families here. We participated in that, and yeah, so people can choose their level of involvement.
I thought I could contribute fundraising, so with a bit of research came up with the Folk for Refugees benefit gig and organised 6 or 7 artists to perform at the first gig, which was held at the winery where I work at. That one raised about $4,000, which we donated to the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre. Now, the money raising aspect, I'm not actually sure. I'm sure it does help. These organisations need money to continue to operate. But really, I think the best thing about the benefit gig was bringing people together to share thoughts and ideas and to raise awareness. And that's where I think the best direction for the RAR groups is just to raise awareness and try and change the conversation.
We've been setting up information tents at local events. So one of the major local events that we've been involved in was for the Eel Festival. And so we set up a stall there. We were selling t-shirts, we were giving away stickers, and we were giving away information, and we're also getting signatures around trying to influence government about the centres that have been set up for refugees, particularly offshore detention centres, and the concerns that we have around the way people are treated within those environments.
There are people who write letters to politicians, and there are people who advocated for the local council to and become a refugee-friendly zone, and that was very successful. The Ararat is a refugee-friendly zone. I'm actually quite in awe of the people that are in the group and the things they do. That I think, oh, bloody hell, you know. But they're passionate about it, and it's a good thing to do.
We want a better country for our grandchildren to be growing up in. We want decency to be the highest priority.
Because we've all got the ultimate aim of seeing that refugees get a fair go.
We're just not doing the right thing as Australians.
RAR, since they began, have been one of the most effective community-based grassroots groups in this area. I don't know how it is they do that, but they have been remarkably effective.